Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Real Estate Live. I'm Kathy Mae Martin, and I'm excited to be your host today. This is the show where you're going to get real answers in real time. And if you'll check the screen, we have our email address and our phone number where you can reach us, and we're going to answer your questions live on the air today. And we've got a great show. If you've ever thought about buying a rental property or managing a rental property on your own, we've got the solutions and we got the answers for you today. So stay tuned for Real Estate Live. Well, I'm excited, as I said, to have a special guest with me today, Miss Teresa Davis. And this lady, I've always said, you've got the hardest job in real estate, but somehow she makes it seamless and seem easy for her customers and her clients, and she does an amazing job. How long have you been with us, Teresa?
Since May of 2006.
May of 2006. I got to tell the story. Okay. So we had started a property management department back when the economy was going great. And we were getting a lot of folks that were retiring, and they wanted to buy their home, but they weren't going to be here for 5 years, and they wanted us to rent it. And we had numerous calls for people wanting to rent properties. So there was a huge need, and so we had to find the right person. So we went through a lot of interviews, and believe it or not, this was back before Indeed. We found Miss Teresa on Craigslist, and Teresa came in for the interview. And do you remember what I asked you? I just said, why would you want to do this?
Oh, okay.
And she said, and she had had experience, which helped. Mm-hmm. And she said, I have a passion for property management. And I'm like, passion for property management? You're hired. We hired her that day. She's been here ever since. And wow, kudos to me. That was one of the best hires ever. Teresa, I appreciate everything you do.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
I appreciate the Coldwell Banker and Jim Henry and you. You guys have stood by me. And you're the reason that I'm successful. Oh, I mean, I've done the work. I know Jim Henry told me once I'm the hardest working woman he has ever known, besides you.
Yeah, wow. No, you are. And we've learned a lot.
Yes, we've learned a lot along the way,
and
yes, for sure.
And you take really great care of your customers. You know, one of the things, and we're going to look at this from two aspects. We're going to learn a lot today. Is if somebody was looking to maybe get a house ready for rent, why would, what's the process there, getting a house ready for rent?
So the process is, we usually, if they call, we'll schedule a time to go out and we tour the house and we'll walk through the house, because a lot of times you don't really know what you should do. You'll think, well, I need to have a washer and dryer in there. That you really don't need a washer and dryer, because the tenant's going to bring their own washer and dryer. So I will tell them what you need and what you don't need. You just need to make it safe. You don't need any electrical issues. You don't need any broken glass, anything that someone could get hurt on. For the most part, you just want it clean. Clean, move-in ready. You don't want any leftover furniture in there. You do have to provide a refrigerator and stove. And there are, sometimes you don't have to, and they can provide their own, but mostly it's the refrigerator and the stove. And just remember that if you provide it, you have to maintain it.
Yes.
So that's why no washer and dryer, a dishwasher, refrigerator and stove, and the microwave are usually the appliances in there. And sometimes you'll think it's got to be this, it's got to be that, but mainly just clean, painted, clutter-free.
And safety's a big
Safety
concern.
is a big concern.
Fire alarms, those type
Smoke
things.
detectors. And so we just go through, I have a checklist, and we just check everything off. And that way, sometimes you think, oh, it's going to cost this much. And then you realize, hey, my house is ready to go.
Everybody that owns property or more than one property thinks, hey, I want to be a property manager.
Yeah.
I want to be, a landlord. It's not
Right.
that easy, is it?
It is not that easy. If I owned rental property, I would want someone else to manage it.
Absolutely.
Just because it's so personal. And then, and things happen. People aren't perfect. Everybody wants to put a renter in that same box. But, there's good renters. You've rented before. I've rented before. There are good renters out there. And the main thing with having a property manager, they're going to look after it. You don't have to worry about it. You just open your mailbox, get your check, or look in your bank account and get your rental proceeds put in there. We do quarterly inspections, so we're in the house every 3 months. And it's not like a inspection where we're going to inspect everything. We call it a safety inspection. We go in, we check the smoke detectors, we check the air filters. I will usually do just a walk around the house, make sure that, I will look at the roof and make sure that, how wind can blow up your shingles or something like that. Then we will report back to the owners if there's anything that is their responsibility. But then if it's the tenant's responsibility, we send them, hey, we noticed you got, trash on the back porch, we've got to get this cleaned up, or, and we'll ask the tenant too, are you having any issues? Because sometimes people will live in houses and they don't report the maintenance. And that's where doing the inspections, we can catch it before it gets out of hand.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that we do that makes us stand out from the rest, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are my landlord. I have rental properties myself, and quite honestly, I was tired of getting those calls at midnight saying their toilet was running.
Yeah.
So,
well, we can usually get a little more than just if you're, I'm going to put my house out there for rent, the Coldwell Banker name, we can get the higher rents, and that we take care of it. And we do love our tenants too, because my philosophy is happy tenant will stay longer, they'll communicate better. When we're signing the lease, I always tell them there's 3 things that we need to be concerned about. You need to pay your rent on time, you need to take care of the property, and you need to communicate. Things happen, but communication is a big thing. Communication in life is a big thing, but I try to always be friendly with the tenants, but I let the owners know, we're on the same side, but I do want the tenants to be happy and to feel like, hey, I can come to Miss Teresa and I can talk to her and I can tell her, hey, we broke this.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's get it fixed.
Let's get it fixed.
Let's get it fixed. Don't let it go. People, lose their jobs, they get sick, whatever.
Yes.
I always want them to communicate with us so that we can work out the problems,
Yeah,
And,
you're a great communicator. Yeah.
And we don't ever want the tenant to get more than a month behind on their rent, because if that happens, 9
Landlords
times out
aren't
of
usually too happy about that. Yeah, because they've got bills to pay too. How do you go about screening a tenant?
Well, and we're old school. We have paper applications. I know a lot will do the online. We want the tenant or the prospect to come in so we can meet them, so we can possibly smell them.
Okay.
Look at them, get a look at their car, and do more personable. And I think they appreciate that. We send out birthday cards and birthday messages, but we screen them. We get an application. We charge an application fee, which covers the screening. We'll do a credit check. We definitely get on their Facebook page and see what they've been doing. And that tells a lot about it. Your credit report tells a lot about someone. We're not looking for perfect credit, but we are looking that they don't owe any other rental properties. They don't have a lot of utility companies, because people that don't pay their utilities probably are not going to pay their rent.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the 3 things that we look for on their credit report.
Do you do a background check?
We do we don't necessarily do one through any agency. We just try to do it on our own. We go through the the pedophile list, and we check them, and we go see if they've been arrested. So in the Facebook,
Yes,
they'll tell a lot on Facebook.
Yeah,
We're getting evicted.
Yes.
We need a house.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and what about references? Do you check references?
Yes, we usually get 3 personal references that we will check. Then we get emergency contact. So if something goes awry in the future, or we need to reach out to the emergency contact to see what's going on, But it's pretty. We do pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you do.
We don't
you
have
do a
a-
great job.
Yeah.
You make it, like I said, kind of seamless and easy for the landlord. You
Right.
take all that stress.
And we want to make sure
and-
what we do for one, we do for all.
Yes,
So we're not cutting corners or anything. So if someone comes in, they put the application in, we do the background check, we do a landlord reference, we make sure that, where they've lived before. And, sometimes they'll try to lie about it. And you've got to be like a spy, or an investigator, well, would you rent to her before? And if they pause, you're like, this might be his mom.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, you want to make sure you're talking to the right landlord there.
Yes.
So, and as a mom, sometimes we are landlord.
Yes, we are landlord. That's a big red flag. I'm looking for my son.
Yeah.
They're living with me, and I want to get rid of them.
Yes. Now, how do you handle collecting the rents? What's the
Collecting the
process?
rent, so the rent is always due on the first of the month. It's due on the first of the month. They have a 5-day grace period with no late fee. On that 6th day, we send out notices, say, hey, what's going on? You haven't paid your rent. We will give them a little bit of grace, but usually if they haven't paid by the 6th and haven't communicated, then there's a 10% late fee, and that's based on the Tenant Landlord Act. You can make it more or less. We're under that population where we don't have to go by the Tenant Landlord Act, but I always try to go by the Tenant
Yes.
Landlord Act, so that way we're above and beyond the rules and the regulations.
Yes, okay. You have a question? Yes, okay.
Oh, we have
Just a
questions.
sec. Okay, Teresa, the question is, how do you help owners set the rental price, especially in today's market?
Well, we just go by what they've been renting for, what they could rent for. We always will go, we always want to go higher. So I will ask the owner, what do you have to make it work for you? And that's where we start. And then, we go a little higher. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. So you can't go square footage rent. Your commercial properties are a little different than your residential. So right now, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Kingston can rent from anywhere from, 16 to, 2,100, 2,200 a month. So the
Amazing.
rents have just went crazy. But, to get a good tenant, sometimes the owners are like, I just want a good tenant. I don't care to go a little lower on the rent. And then you have other people, these are investment properties and they want top dollar. So we always try to go for that top dollar.
Yes.
And then as we see, if we're not getting any calls, then we know we've got to do something if we want it rented. But we want to cover their mortgage, we want to cover their insurance, we want to cover the management fees that they're going to pay us. And that's kind of what we go with. So it's
Yeah.
really,
Well, thank you for that question. That was
Yeah.
a great question. So I know landlords a lot of times are investors and they're looking to make their payment. They got to pay taxes and insurance, and all those things
Right.
go up on an annual basis usually. So rents escalate.
Yep, and we will usually
they
try
don't
to-
normally go down. They,
No.
Yeah, like everything else in life, they don't normally go
and
down.
then as they renew, if they renew their rent for another 12 months, then we'll decide usually 3 months before they renew if we're going to go up on the rent. And we always give them that 3 months, hey, when your lease renews, we will be going up on your rent. It's
Yes.
usually, anywhere from 15 to 20%
on the
increase.
Increase, and that's just
It is what it is.
Yeah, passing along the expenses. So, how do you? What's a typical security deposit?
It's always 1 month's rent.
1 month.
Now, if they have pets, then we charge an extra pet deposit, and then that is refundable. Some owners will opt to do a pet fee versus, pet deposit, and then also they could charge a pet rent. So that can be anywhere from $35 to $75 a month for a pet.
And understandably so. Not
Right.
all pets are good tenants. So.
And I like to do I prefer to do the deposit because then they have something to, they're going to get it back if the pet doesn't do any damage. But also, you have a pet deposit if it's $500, whatever. If that pet does more than $500 damage, the tenant is always going to be responsible for any damage that the pet does. But with us doing those quarterly inspections, we can kind of catch it before it gets too far and nip it in the bud, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
And I'm sure occasionally you'll go through there and find a pet on your inspections. That, yes.
And then we always
get
get,
that
yes.
a few times.
Yes, a few times.
Yeah.
Or they say they had 1 cat and all of a sudden they have 5 cats.
Yeah.
And so what we do is say, hey, you said you had 1 cat, that's all you're allowed, 1 cat, you're going to have to get rid of them or find a new place to live.
Yeah. And the thing there is just being transparent.
Yes.
Communication, like
Communication, and if they want to, and tenants will, if they know they can communicate with you and they feel comfortable, they'll
Yes.
call and say, hey, I've got this other cat, I'd like to get it. And then we check with the owner, hey, they've got another cat, they're willing to pay another pet deposit, would you be okay? And if they're okay, then yeah, the other cat can come.
Yeah.
So that all goes back to that communication.
Communication is key
Communication.
in all things mostly.
And we allow no smoking in any of our properties, any of them. So all of our rentals are no smoking.
Yeah.
'Cause they
I
can
didn't
cause-
realize that.
Yeah,
But,
every one of them.
Yeah.
No smoking.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard thing to do.
And I've got a nose for it if you're
Yeah.
watching. No.
I bet you do. I bet you do. So let's say this is a condo that you've got
Yeah,
for rent
this
there.
is in
yeah, let's
Lake Point Drive, a beautiful condo. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it is available right now.
Yeah.
Great view, beautiful. This is, we do have this one rented. This is Old James Ferry Road. It's got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a basement, and it did rent for $2,500. It's got land, and let's see, this is, that was that one. This is one we have in Knoxville. It is available. It's $2,250. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath.
Nice. Huh?
Great neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's on a cul-de-sac. Yeah.
I know this rental department has served so many facets of the real estate market. When we initially got in the property management business, it was to serve a need of people buying properties and not wanting them to sit
Right.
vacant. And then the economy tanked,
remember
and
that.
so that was a whole different need
Whole
for
different
rental
need.
properties. People couldn't sell their properties, so they rented them. And now we have a need because people can't find homes.
Exactly.
And the rental is the only choice.
Yes.
So it serves, seems like it just keeps evolving.
Keeps evolving. And the one thing I've noticed over 20 years is the rental market is consistent.
It is.
The market can go up and down. I mean, we're always needing more rental properties, but there's always going to be people that need a rental in between the buying process. They've sold, and so it's been very consistent the whole 20 years.
Yeah.
It really has.
I know at one time we had over 300 properties you
We have
managed out of.
256 now.
Wow.
256. And that, when the market was in 2007,
tanked.
2008, we had an abundance of them.
Yes.
And then as soon as the market turned around, people started getting them and selling them.
off.
So it
and,
up and down, up and down. But
rentals is always a great investment. I know.
It truly is.
Being in this business, I don't have a corporate retirement. I don't get a check every week. So I've invested in rental properties as my retirement.
Yeah.
It's not, the rental investments, you've got to put the first years you may not make a lot of
Right.
money. You just got to hope they pay for themselves. But at some point in time, you hope it's going to create a good
Yes.
income for you when you're
Yes.
retirement. So there's a lot of great needs for
Yes, for sure.
the rental market. Well, I know you handle pretty much, you make it easy, you inspect the properties, you collect the rents. What about come end of the year and the 1099s and the tax? Do you handle
So
all that?
all the owners will get like a 1099. It's a rental 1099, and that's your gross rental. But we have a program called Rent Manager, and that tracks everything. They'll get a 1099, and then we will print a report at the end of the year that shows all their expenses, all the management fees, everything that's been paid out. We keep good records. We keep copies of all the invoices, and then we email the owner with the invoices so they have a copy. But I always reassure them, if you need help, the tax time is so stressful. If they ever need help, we're there to help. So we try to, help them to get through that process as well.
Yeah, that's such a great asset to have is somebody to send my 1099s and do all that for me. That's, that's
And
really
then-
great at the end of the year. And you're calculating all those expenses, all the rents, and you make it easy for the landlord at the end of the year just to hand it to their tax accountant.
Exactly, and then it's all right there. And if we work with the tax accountants too, if they need anything, we're there to help. Because we keep everything, every invoice, everything that's related to that property, we keep a copy of it in the office, and we also email them a copy.
Yes, and you've got a great support staff too.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Jensen. You brought Jensen on, and
Yeah.
she's just she's setting the woods on fire, isn't she?
Yes, she is setting the
Yeah.
woods on fire. So Jensen came to work for me about 9 years ago as my assistant, straight out of high school. She had just graduated from high school. She got her real estate license last year, and so now she's a property manager with me. We say it's 2 for you.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
So, yeah, she's a firecracker. I always kid with her and say, some people will say, "You're my right arm." I'm like, "You're my right arm, my left arm."
She is.
I couldn't do what I do without her.
Yeah.
She is a firecracker, and she's a good property manager.
Yeah, she really is.
She really
And
is.
It's so important in any business, my business, everything that we do here at Coldwell Banker. We've just got a great support team
Yeah.
from our
Exactly.
office managers on down to our property managers.
And we have a good leader, too.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You've been my biggest cheerleader, and been 20 years. I mean, it's been an amazing journey that we've been on, and I do
We've
appreciate
learned
it.
a lot.
We've learned a lot.
We've learned a lot. That's something about this business. Every aspect of it is we learn something new
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And, we get stronger, we get better.
Yeah, there's
and
never a dull moment in property management. There's
Never.
never a dull moment.
never a dull
There's always
moment.
something.
Yes,
There's been
yes.
some-
But you handle it so well. You do such a great job. And so something that we have very few of, thank goodness.
Very few.
Very few, and that's evictions.
Yeah.
But that's a process in itself. And I know if I didn't have you, I would worry about those things. So how tell me about that process.
So if we do have to go to the eviction process, we will try to work with the tenant to get them caught up to, we will go the extra mile to try to, because we don't want to have to evict someone, but there comes a time where it is what it is and you have to be evicted. So we will, we file the detainer warrant is the first place you go, then that gives you a court date. We have an attorney that goes to court with us at a discounted rate. And we take care of the whole thing for you, so you don't have to go to court. In our contract, you give us the full responsibility of going to court on your behalf. And 10 days, they'll give them 10 days to get out. And if they're not out in the 10 days that the court gives them, then we go back and we file for a writ of possession. And then we get the police involved, and we have to set their stuff out on the street.
Yeah, that's not a place we
No,
want
it's
to be
not a
in.
place we
Thank
wanna be.
goodness, in the 20-something years that we've done property management, we've had very few of those. But
Yes.
that goes back to that communication that you guys have.
Exactly.
Doing your quarterly inspections, and you have that process, and you
Yeah.
go by the book. If they're late, come talk to us. Let's figure
Yeah.
this out.
And the thing is, and just when you got to do it, just do it. Don't, because they'll keep on stringing you along, well, I'll bring it in Friday. Which Friday did you mean? And so just being firm and fair and firm. I've always thought, be fair and be firm, because it is what it is. And then I always blame it on you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Kathy May won't let me. I would let you live for free. But
Absolutely. Don't even ask, Teresa. Don't even ask. The answer is no.
No,
Yes.
Kathy won't let us.
So, I know a lot of tenants, and I learned this early on
Yeah.
before I had you, is, boy, I said, someday I'm going to write a book on excuses not to pay rent.
Excuses
and,
not to pay
they'll
rent.
say they dropped cash in a box. How do you take credit cards? Do you, how do you handle collecting the rent?
Okay, well, the program that we have, Rent Manager, they can go online and pay
Yes.
online. We do like a ACH, where we actually take it out of their bank account into our bank account. We do cash. We do money order, cashier's check. We try to make it as easy as possible for people to pay their rent. I know some people will might think, oh, you shouldn't take cash. But, a lot of times people aren't going to go get that money order. When they got the cash, they're going to bring it. And, we're pretty good at collecting the rents.
Did you ever think we'd be in a world where we didn't want cash? I mean, that's, but, there is so much. There's the extra step. If they bring cash, you got to go and document it and take it to the bank.
But it is very good that and on the Rent Manager program, the renter will have a portal where they can go, they can put maintenance issues in, they can pay their rent, they can communicate with us, they can communicate with everybody. And we really like that because now there's a text history. There's a message history where you can't go back and say, well, I didn't say this or I didn't say that. And that's one thing you've taught me over the years. Don't do phone calls with people. Make them text you. And so that's really...
Just document.
I love the Rent Manager.
Yes, and that's so nice for your, I say seller because I'm in the selling business, but your landlord, that also, he's got that communication in front
And they
of
have
him.
their own portal where they can go and look at reports. They can look to see if the people have paid rent or if their tenants have paid rent, so it works really good. And then they can get all the information there that they need.
And I know you have clients that have, 10 or 15 properties, so you manage a lot of properties for, a lot of different people. And I know they're all thankful for you. I am.
And we go to Loudon, to Lenore City, Oak Ridge, Knoxville. We have a couple properties in North Knoxville. We have some, of course, in Farragut.
And you can understand why you do that because a lot of people don't want to do this business. It's a hard business to be in. There's liability, and so we here at Coldwell Banker make sure that everything's in legal compliance and we do things the way it's supposed to be.
And a lot of times owners are concerned, like, what if someone falls on the property? And I always will explain it. It's like renting a car. When you rent a car, you're responsible for that car. When you rent a house, you're responsible for that house. So we always, we suggest and we like for people to get renter's insurance to cover their own belongings because the owner's insurance is only going to cover the dwelling. It does not have to cover any of their belongings. Now, if they're having a cookout and someone comes over and they trip and fall and hurt themselves, it's their responsibility, unless there's something that we're liable for, and then, if there was a railing or something and we didn't fix. So we really try to be very stern about that and let people know in the beginning that our insurance will only cover the dwelling, will not cover any of their personal belongings. So if they choose not to get the renter's insurance, it's on them.
If something happens.
But if that particular owner requests that be mandatory, that they do get renter's insurance, then they will.
Now, let's let everybody know where you're located.
We're located at, our office up there? Okay, we're located at, I forgot. 411, I want to say 411 North Kentucky Street.
No, it's 411 3rd
411 North 3rd Street.
Yes.
We're in the big white house in the back of the real estate.
We have the brick building, the stone building, and you're in the big white house. There's even a drive-through deposit there. And so how can people find you personally, Teresa?
How they can find me personally? Well, if I'm not at the real estate office or the property management, you can call me at on my cell phone, 865-934-7333. You can email me, and we do have a webpage at jhpmlandlordsforyou.com. And that's the same with our email, too. Try to keep it consistent.
And we have a website.
jhpmlandlordsforyou.com.
Okay, well, like and follow us on our credits here. Contact us on the email there. Message us on Facebook with any of your questions for real estate or property management. We thank you for tuning in today. Our next show will be on December the 12th, a Friday at noon, and we look forward to seeing you here. And thanks again for joining us today.